Hey, this is Politics with Laura, and I got a strange one for you today. It's a good one, but really strange. This when you think politicians can't do something wild, then like, what? They'll take you there. Oh man, this is something. Alabama abortion law says a fetus is tax deductible. Now I gotta ask you something. How many of you are going to be running down to the tax man saying, "Hey, I got the ultrasound. I want my taxes. I want a deduction. I got another deduction tax guy H&R Block. I got another deduction." No, this is wild. Look, this conservative and liberal fight of ideology, it's getting a bit to be too much. The two view sections are, how can I say, your fooldom has no bounds. The wild stuff that you do to each other and then get people riled up and protesting, and I really hope people are not. Okay, that is a nice thought of mine, thinking that people wouldn't fall into this, but I know they are. But back to the article. All right, Georgia. Only Georgia can come up with something like this. Okay. All right. Okay, the state of Georgia Department of Revenue announced this week that any unborn child with a detectable human heartbeat can be claimed as a dependent. Now, I gotta ask you something. A detectable human heartbeat? Are women carrying animals? Okay, I'm gonna leave that one alone altogether. I'm gonna leave it alone. Okay, detectable human heartbeat can be claimed as a dependent, providing a $3,000 tax exemption for each pregnancy within a household. Months before the child is born, Georgia's law bans most abortions after 6 weeks, which is usually around when doctors can begin to detect a fetal cardiac activity. Okay, it's only, hold on to your pantyhose. It's only going to get worse from here. Well, not worse, but it's just what these lawmakers do to get people riled up. They're either for the bill or not for it by the let me stop. The announcement marks a new frontier for any anti-abortion policy making in the post-Roe America, where conservative lawmakers have moved beyond banning abortions and now are trying to expand the legal rights of protection afforded to a fetus under fetal personhood laws. Georgia, Alabama, Arizona have passed abortion bans that include language broadly defining the fetus as a person. Now, this right here is what's wild. And for me, it's not. I'm not pro-choice, pro-life. My thing is this: do what you want to do. Well, I don't want to have any dog in this fight, but when you start looking at a fetus and then calling it a human, and then look at it as a person, this is weird language. Very weird language, in my opinion. Then again, I'm not a lawyer, but just this policy silliness is just a bit much for me. All right. Separately, nearly 40 states, including Texas and California, defined a fetus as a person or person in cases involving homicide. For an example, Scott Peterson in 2004 was convicted in California of murdering his wife and unborn child. His wife, Lacey Peterson, was 8 months pregnant when she was killed. Georgia's abortion laws goes further than any other fetal person provision, called the Living Infant Fairness and Equality or Life Act. It prohibits abortions after 6 weeks and explicitly recognizes the fetus as a person. A federal judge struck down the legislation last summer, finding that it violated a woman's constitutional right to an abortion. The appeals court delayed the final decision pending on the ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay, sorry, I meant to push that up. Okay. After the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade on June 24th, a 3-judge panel from the 11th U.S. District Court of Appeals handed Georgia's conservatives their long-anticipated victory, allowing the abortion restriction to take effect. In the appeals court's July 20th ruling, Chief Judge William Pryor wrote that a person of reasonable intelligence is capable of understanding that the court's meaning of the provision is to expand the definition of a person to include unborn humans who are carried in the womb womb of their mother at any stage of development. This is getting more interesting as we go. Okay. Governor Brian Kemp, also who signed the law in 2019, celebrated the court's decision. Georgia is a state that values and supports life at all stages, and the Georgia Life Act and this provision both reflect that commitment, a spokesperson of Kemp said. Now, here's the interesting part about these states. You're pro-life, but then you're willing to execute a person. It doesn't match. The fundamentals does not match. You want to save a life by not having an abortion, but when that life is brought forth and gets on your nerves, then you want to execute the life. You can't make this stuff up. You just can't. Okay, State Representative Ed Setzler, a Republican sponsor of the law, said in a leaked 2019 video that the ultimate goal for the law is to have a Supreme Court acknowledge the personhood of a fetus. It is also establishing personhood of an unborn child in a tax code for child support for mothers and others in our census count across the code, so that we can lay the foundation that no other state in the nation in at least 46 years have ever done, which is to establish the personhood of this child. And we're going to take this to the highest court of the land, so Setzler said in a video. Now, here's the issue with this. All right. On one hand, what you're saying is that tax codes, and then now you get child support. Now, here's an interesting thing. A very interesting thing. Now, we have to most definitely take into consideration that there are some women who are extremely manipulative. There are. You see them all the time out there, like Drake and the one young lady who tried to take his condom and impregnate herself, but he took hot sauce and put it in the condom, and then she burned herself. She had no business doing that. What do you do about situations like these when you have women who are targeting men getting pregnant by them? Now you're going to further incentivize women to behave in that manner, because now do they get tax breaks, but now they get tax exemptions plus child support before the baby's born. What are you doing? Now, what if a man who gets tricked into getting a woman pregnant, or she does something to get pregnant, and before you start saying you had no business laying down with her, this, that, and the other, if you lay down, then you pay the cost, forget about that. Put that aside. If a man does not want to have children, then that fact ought to be respected, and not do manipulative things to get pregnant or take additional precautions. Now, the interesting part about this law is that there's another law in Georgia to where they're talking about a man has to see 2 doctors before he can have a vasectomy. So if he's having a vasectomy to keep from having children, this stuff is wild. This stuff is really wild. I don't know what these lawmakers are doing. I truly don't understand it. But if a man who doesn't want to have a child, man, I can really see women getting harmed more so now than ever because of this law. And this, I have to say, is a very bad law, because you are going to further weaponize children than what they are already now. Let me see. I did not mean for this video to go as long as it did. Okay, it gets more interesting. Okay, Georgia pushes to recognize a fetus as a person could lay the blueprint for the conservative state, which have not yet clarified the meaning and the effect of such an approach, legal experts say. The anti-abortion movement has always been a personhood movement that have just no consensus on what it actually meant, said Mary Ziegler, a law professor at the University of California, Davis, who has written several books on the abortion and the law. Okay, I meant to move that up. Okay, before the demise of Roe, conservatives were united around the singular goal of restricting abortion access. But Ziegler says the anti-abortion movement is struggling to find the consensus on the fetal personhood meaning in the post-Roe legal landscape. Nobody has really worked out how you enforce the personhood beyond just you can't have an abortion, she said. Georgia is starting to work that out, but they really only looked at a handful of situations. How could you enforce this HOV lanes? Do you give a fetus its own attorney? And there are so many questions that are left open, and I totally agree. And I just think that this is just a bad law. Not only a bad law, but I think it's just the way for conservatives now to flex on liberals, because liberals had 50 years of this, and now the conservatives are going to just smudge it, like take a pie and put it in your face. Now, who has pie now? It's just such a bad law, and it's going to cause a whole lot of problems. And I just hope that they come to some sort of reasoning to stop all this. But on that note, please like, subscribe. If you like my content, please smash the subscribe and press like. If you don't like it, subscribe, dislike my video, and tell me why you don't like my video. But on that note, I want to thank all of you for stopping by.